Don't you remember it, Shawneen, and how it was? The road led up past the chapel, and it wound and it wound. And there was the field where Dan Tobin's bull chased you. It was a lovely little house, Shawneen. And the roses. Your father used to tease me about them, but he was that proud of them, too.
Ah, that's nothing but a wee, humble cottage.
I guess I have a different experience of Ireland to the majority of Irish people. I actually go back to Ireland a lot at the moment. I go back, but I don't, even over there, I don't connect with roots and culture as such. I dissociated myself from Ireland because of my experiences and because of the fact that to me it was all a big lie. Everything I'd lived was a lie. So religion was oppressive in Ireland in that it took thousands of women who had become pregnant outside of marriage and incarcerated them in institutions where their children were born and then removed from them. I was born in an institution for unmarried mothers and their children. And by the time I was 2.5, my mother was given a half an hour to get me dressed. And then I was taken away from her and she was told I was being adopted, which was a big lie because adoption wasn't legal in Ireland in those days. Usually the mothers never signed anything willingly or never signed at all. In many cases they were told that their children had died, and they believed that. And this was to ensure that these children would not be adopted by Protestants. My mother was deported without her consent to Cardiff in Wales to work for the same order of nuns in one of their hospitals where she worked in the laundry. These women didn't know they had any rights. There was nobody there to represent them. They could pay to get out of the institutions if their parents had money. They could also pay for their parents to take their children. But for the most part, let's say 99.5% of those women had their children taken from them illegally. And this was done under the auspices of the Catholic Church because these women had committed a sin against the Church and they were there to be punished. Now bear in mind, not a single man was called to account for these pregnancies. No man was asked to contribute anything. As a matter of fact, when people talk about, going to see the place of the virgin birth in Jerusalem, I tell them just go to Ireland. We had more virgin births in Ireland than anywhere else in the world.
Many years ago, my mother sang a song to me in tones so sweet and low. Just a simple little ditty in our good old Irish way, and I'd give the world if she could sing that song to me this day.
Fostered when I was 2.5
right.
By the Spitaries. I was taken by an elderly couple who I was to call foster parents, who again neglected me to the point where the National Society Prevention of Cruelty to Children was called in, and I was about 4.5, and I was taken from those people by the Prevention of Cruelty officer, and he took me to Cork County Court, where I was interred by the judge, interred me into an Irish industrial school, Catholic, industrial school. All of these organizations were run by the Catholic Church. And until I was 16, the nuns added 6 more months to that against the judge's ruling. But that's where I was brought up, given minimum of education, minimum of medical care, fed enough to keep body and soul together. We were used as, in my opinion, and through my research, forced labour. That's where I spent my childhood. And so, beaten, emotionally abused, physically abused, sexually abused. That was my life until I got out. That's when I was 16 and a half. And it was at that point I stopped believing. I gave up the faith of our fathers nonsense and began to think for myself. I left Ireland and turned my back on it once I found out my mother was sent to England. I still didn't know the full story at that time. I just knew I had been taken away from her and she had been sent to England. That's all I knew. So I went over to England to look for her, and I lived on the streets in London for a while. I survived. I don't know how. I think they say that someone up there looks after fools, and I don't know if there's someone up there, but the world, the universe, I was protected in some way, and so I survived on the streets, and like I say, I found my mother. But, and here's the big but, you cannot replace the bond that is lost when a child is taken from its mother. I don't care what psychologists say. I don't care what psychiatrists say. Every person like me that I know who was brought up in those institutions in Ireland will tell you the same thing. I loved my mother, but in the way that I would have loved a best friend's mother. There's no bond. We couldn't hug each other. Neither of us could show emotion much. So I had to learn all of that. And why is that? Because the Catholic Church deemed it so. They ordered it so. And there was the government of Ireland just threw up its hands and put its lot in with the Catholic Church, and they were supposed to be protecting us, children. It says in the Constitution, the children of the nation shall be cherished equally. No, we were not. And those abuses never leave you. I still suffer today. I still have nightmares, and I'm 69 going on 70. One time I went back and I thought, I need to make my peace around this issue. And the buildings that I was brought up in, although they were vacant, they were still standing intact. And I thought I should go up and see them and try and make my peace there, lay the ghost to rest. The gates were open and I walked up there and I stood looking down at where we'd had our playground where the children used to play. I could almost hear the laughter and the running around with hurling sticks and balls, and this wave of total sadness came over me, and I just cried and cried, and I was standing there and all of a sudden I heard a voice behind me, male voice. I turned around, it was the security guard, and he said to me, "You were here, weren't you?" I said, "Yeah, how do you know?" And he said, "I saw your shoulders heaving on my little security box there." He said, "I can always tell." But I couldn't come to terms. I couldn't close it. I couldn't, people said we were lying. Nobody believed us. And eventually that gathering momentum of voices reached a crescendo, and documentation was provided to back up the voices. And it was only then, in as late as 1998, that people said, "We believe you." I began to reconcile with that I might get closure through justice.
So where are they projecting? I thought they would have gone up
History Ireland began in 2017 to showcase iconic women of Ireland and ordinary women of Ireland who are, in their opinions, the story of Irish history in every day. And so the images that we see tonight are of the ordinary women of Ireland who have made some impact. And tonight I'm up there for one reason, and that's because I contributed to working for justice for the mother and babies of Ireland and the mother and baby homes of Ireland. And I'm very honoured and also extremely honoured that they included with me my partner Marjorie. I'm really grateful for that. It's wonderful to see her up there. Yeah! Oh, Mary, quick, turn around, darling. Have you got Margie? And that's why I'm here tonight, to celebrate. And to help me celebrate, I brought along my baby sister. Come over here. This is my baby sister, Jackie. And she was about 7 years of age when I first met her, after I found my mother, who had been institutionalized in the mother and baby homes. So by the time I met Jackie, she was, she was sweeping the roads. By the time I met her, she was a 7-year-old road sweeper. I can't go on. I'm done. Oh, Claire, thanks. You can edit all that, can't you? Thank God for editing. Yeah. From what I found talking to people about their sense of Irishness, it is engaged more in the past. And this comes about from a time when the Irish government was trying to sell Ireland as a tourist destination in the 50s, you know, and thereabouts. The president at the time, De Valera, referred to Ireland as, or his advertisers did, oh, you know, a land of lakes and colleens dancing at the crossroads and thatched houses. I don't think so. But that's the image that stuck. You know, he projected this Maureen O'Hara image, and that movie, The Quiet Man, is responsible for a lot of people's images of Ireland. The thatched cottage, the little garden in the front, the meeting down at the pubs, the fighting, you know, the whole thing is created in there. That movie continues to be one of the most popular Irish movies of the day, even today. And I think a lot of American Irish have that with them when they consider what Irish culture is. And when they go back in their genealogy and when they go back and look at photographs of Ireland in the 1800s, what they don't look at is the devastation and the poverty of Ireland in that time. But that's not what was showed. And so what was shown was, as with all propaganda, was a large number of people and people who had left home built up pictures of nostalgia that really weren't real. I mean, people who left after the famine, who were sending money home to Ireland, many of them never set foot in Ireland again, never wanted to. But that's not what they told their children.
Okay, good morning. It's a nice day in Litchfield, New Hampshire. Right, Lily? You going to be quiet? Okay, say hello. Okay. When I was small, we lived in Malden, very near my grandmother. I got very close to my grandmother, and would spend a lot of time together. And she used to tell me a lot of stories about the things that she did growing up in Ireland. She came from Onascal, which is a small village, I guess, if you will. It was in County Kerry and not too far from Killarney. She came over here to this country, as so many did at that time. She moved into an area in West Roxbury with her sister. She did at one point then met my grandfather. They did get married, and when she got pregnant with her first child, she got so homesick she wanted to go back to Ireland. I mean, she was, probably 19 or 20 or something like that when she was over here in a new country and didn't know a lot of people. Going back meant going on a steamship. It wasn't just a quick flight. Her first child was my mother and Claire's grandmother, and she was actually born in Ireland. Then she was able to come back home again. So my mother was born in Ireland, but never really learned anything about the village or anything like that because she was only very young. It was funny because my mother said when she was growing up and, young, newly married and everything, she always said she had no interest in going to Ireland. And I think my grandmother felt kind of bad about that. I don't think she felt as connected. She was here in the United States, but then as she got older and my grandmother was gone, I asked her and we decided to go together. So going back again 80 years later or 70 years later, it was kind of a nice experience for both of us, I think. We got a cab driver and we did drive through Onascal, and he took us to the church where my mother would have been baptized. And my mother went in and said a prayer up at the altar, and then we drove down to Inch Strand, which is another word for beach. That's where my grandmother and her sisters and brothers used to walk over the hills and go down to the beach there. Growing up, I knew more what it meant to the people who were actually there. You heard more about the people and the places and things like that, rather than just they came from Ireland and what does that mean, I mean, it's a different feeling for me to go to Ireland than it is for me to go to Switzerland. Switzerland's beautiful and it's got lots of nice places to see, but there's just a little different feeling. I don't know, it's just a feeling of connection. That you're part of this. You came from this family that I've known, and families still that I don't know that are over there probably. And so, and you have an interest in what goes on over there. There's probably is more of, like you say, looking through rose-colored glasses with a lot of people thinking in terms of Ireland but I know there probably is for me as well, just because it's been a while since I've been there. When you go and tour and visit, you see more of the good things than you see the bad things. I know it has its faults and it has problems, and you don't hear about that much about the Irish people every day, kind of thing. We're mostly focused in the news on the Mideast and all this stuff, or in Russia or whatever, but Ireland's just this little spot that's kind of keeps to itself in a way.
Hi, Papa, I'm here.
Hi, yeah. What are you doing?
I'm filming you.
You are? Why?
Because you're in my documentary.
Oh, I am in your documentary.
What are you doing?
What do you think I'm doing?
Puzzle?
That's all I do, is puzzles.
Oh.
And watch my birds.
So how important do you think it is that we remember our past and our ancestors?
Not that much. Because you can't change it. I cannot do what I did 2 minutes ago. Water over the dam. It's changed. I can't worry about people, relatives. Their life, not my life. What I can do is in the future. Profit by mistakes. You learn with experience. I've got a lot of experience. I was an only child. Just me. Sure, I had it made. Anything I wanted, I got. You name it. Horseback riding lessons, bicycle. What else? Boxing lessons, music lessons. Anything you can think of, I had it. My parents were older. I never saw my mother. I always used to work. Very rarely did I see my mother. My father never spoke of his father. He just never did. He never spoke of his mother. His mother died. My grandfather, he made a ton of money selling religious goods, candles, the rosary beads, the missals, the prayer books, everything you could think of. He used to sell it. Owned 2 houses. Owned 2 yachts. Went on a round-the-world cruise around 1900. Nobody ever thought of it. He went around the world. All the money he had, he gave supposedly to the Catholic Church. Ireland was never mentioned. Well, your grandmother and I went to Ireland. We were Yankees. We were not Irish. And when people say to me that you're Irish, I contradict them right away and say, I was born in the People's Republic of Cambridge. That means I'm an American citizen. And 4 years in the Navy and 30 plus years as a construction worker. I'm an American, not Irish. You're in this country so long you lose it. You lose your identity. After the second or third generation, you lose it. You came in and you don't want to go back. Go visit, but you don't want to go back.
I'm often discombobulated. Is that a word? I don't know. But about how American Ireland is. That really shocks the hell out of me. I think so many people have been to America, emigrated or returned, and this love affair with America has always been there for the Irish, that instead of bringing Ireland to America now, we bring America to Ireland. I mean, the St. Patrick's Day parade is a classic example. When I was a child, St. Patrick's Day in Ireland was a religious day. Now it's a declaration of anybody who has a thimbleful of Irish blood in them to celebrate. And it's not just in America. I mean, it's all over the world. And it's a great day to be Irish. But what does that mean? What it's become now is a multi-million-dollar business. You can buy green everything. It takes away from our true identity and history, I think. And it's fun for many people. I don't begrudge it to people, but I don't think it has anything to do with Irish culture whatsoever.
Did your mother come from Ireland? 'Cause there's something in you Irish. Will you tell me where you get those Irish eyes? And before she left Killarney? Did your mother kiss the blarney? 'Cause your little touch of brogue you can't disguise. Oh, I wouldn't be romancing, I can almost see you dancing where the Kerry pipers play. Sure, and maybe we'll be sharing in the shamrock you'll be wearing on the next St. Patrick's Day.
St. Patrick's Day should be banned anyway, is my opinion. It's a stupid holiday. I mean, when you think about St. Patrick, he's the only one who ever seems to have seen snakes in Ireland. He's supposed to have driven them out of Ireland. I think he was either eating magic mushrooms or on the old Guinness or Ishkaba, the whiskey. Someone who discovered that their great-grandfather came over here and has studied the genealogy of that family are more likely to be taken up with it and immersed in it than I am, who was born there. They have a different perspective, and they claim that Irishness as part of their genealogy, and so they tend to be more effusive in their conversations about Ireland and the culture, even though they're not steeped in it or brought up with it. It has become their culture.
I think it's as much my family, my grandmothers and stories and things like that I identify with the Irish culture as much, probably more than just even going over there. I think, you can have the name Kelley, and maybe 4 generations ago somebody in your family came from Ireland, and you can say, well, you can go over to Ireland and you can visit and you can spend some time over there and maybe kind of look back on the family that you didn't really know, but this is what it was like for them. So that any time I've been over there, it's not so much just the culture that they have, but it's also the culture I've learned about from family that I've been able to connect with that or add to. So it makes it a combined culture, I guess. It's not just that you've seen the scenery and met the people, you also have history in knowing the people that have lived this.
There are 80 million people who claim Irish descendants around the world. So, I've never met an American who hasn't had a bit of Irish in them. And they're always very proud to tell me so.
Okay, Google, music.
Playing some music on Google Play Music.
Here is my Google station. And here is the radio station. And I can get Irish music on here. Here we go. This is not Irish music. Okay, Google, music. Irish music.
Music on Google Play Music.
Irish music.
There you go.
Irish music.
Fancy chow and drinking fancy wine.